Once again, I want to welcome you to Listen. The Olympics, a lot of cool stuff going on. That black speed skater, Erin, can't remember her last name, very, very impressive. God, they say she's only been speed skating for like 5 years. Something else. Good news. Something else in the Olympics is that little Russian skater, little 16-year-old Russian skater, who tested positive for using a banned substance. And the committee got together and decided that she could go ahead and compete. It's very interesting. What was also interesting is that she was tested. They discovered this test result of her using banned enhancements in December, but it never came out until recently. And that was nice. Little 16-year-old girl, they're going to let her play, but your mind has to go back to Sha'Carri Richardson. Back in the Tokyo Olympics, she tested positive for smoking weed, another banned substance, and they simply eliminated her from the Olympics. And so it's to the ire of a lot of people, because it's obvious the difference in treatment between this black girl and this white girl. Both had the same issue. One was allowed to compete, the other wasn't. And the committee cited that one of the reasons was that she was young and this would be very detrimental to her psychologically and all this stuff. But you know, Sha'Carri Richardson at the time was just 4 years older than this girl is now. So it's kind of young, 20 years old. And what's even more important is, what is the reason why these particular substances are banned? Because they enhance an athlete's performance to give them an unfair advantage over their competition. And so given that, the age of the competitor who's tested positive for a banned substance hasn't anything to do with why they can't compete. It's simply that they have an unfair advantage, okay? And then even looking at Sha'Carri Richardson, weed is not a performance-enhancing drug. So really, it's a big old mess. And Sha'Carri Richardson put out a statement on Twitter, just giving her feelings about how terribly unfair this was, and it had to be racially motivated. And I agree. Now the problem I have with Sha'Carri Richardson is, and you know, I've always been a big fan of hers from the beginning. But the problem I have with her perspective is that, is this a shock? Is this something that we didn't know? I mean, it's sort of like the George Floyd incident. That may have been a shock for all the white folks who were forced to watch him slowly choked out on television. But it was absolutely zero shock to black folks in America. Going all the way back to Rodney King's beating years and years ago by the LA police, that was a shock to many white folks who for the first time got to see a video of a black man being mercilessly beaten by police officers. But was it a shock to black folks? No. So my point is, when I'm speaking to Sha'Carri Richardson and even supporters who are demanding or exposing, you know, this disparity of treatment, is that this is absolutely nothing new. And so if we as black people want to be successful in America, we have to recognize the playing field. We have to recognize what is fair and what isn't fair. And even though something isn't fair, and that's not fair, we have to find a way around what isn't fair. So I'm just suggesting that she should not have been smoking weed. I mean, I understand, you know, the feeling and how good it feels and all that stuff, but I'm suggesting that when you're in a particular competition, you know, against white folks in this nation and abroad, you need to recognize you're being held to a different standard, okay? That's the game, that's the rules. And it's sort of like Obama, okay? If Obama had been anything like our previous president was, except from a black perspective, he would have never been president, okay? Because he's a black man. Yeah, they took him to task when the Reverend Jeremiah Wright made a statement about America, which if you looked at his statement in context, you'd recognize that he was right, you know. But that was about to sink Obama because Obama was held to a different standard than his competition, okay? And so I'm suggesting that it's not right, but it's altogether true. And if you want to win, if you want to get in the game and you want to win, after you win, then have the platform, then speak out. Because they're not going to want you to speak out, okay? That's the issue they have with Naomi Osaka, okay? Black girl, the black Japanese girl. Because she went out there, you know, with all these little Black Lives Matter masks on, Trayvon Martin, and all these, and Ahmaud Arbery, all these black folks that have been murdered, and their murderers were running around scot-free, okay? See, that was the issue with Naomi Osaka. They had a problem with her, but they couldn't silence her because she was already there. She was already on top. She's the highest paid female athlete ever. You just put a period after that. They're ragging on her now, okay? But if you had had, and you know, I don't mean to sound too racially motivated, but let's just be real. A lot of folks don't want to talk about racism, but you know it exists, so let's just talk about it. If we're going to correct it, we got to talk about it, okay? The reality is a white girl could have gotten away with whatever Naomi Osaka seems to have not gotten away with, like the ire of many of the tennis fans. Even her mental health issues. Come on, in our land, in our nation especially, we are very aware of mental health issues, and we are very, you know, adamant about tending to and about protecting folks who have mental health issues. But this girl, man, she has been attacked. Why? She's a black girl. She may be Japanese, but she's a black Japanese girl. But what she did was she became successful first, and then began to speak out. See, Sha'Carri goofed. She messed up. She had so much potential to make so many multi-millions of dollars. I mean, you know, and she goofed. She could have been up there with Naomi Osaka, money-wise, but because she was so unique. I mean, that's what they're looking for. That's a key to marketing, is finding somebody so unique, so different, with all those tattoos and the fingernails and the hair and the eyelashes and everything. She was so unique, and then to be a champion, she could have written her own ticket. She's still doing all right, but this is nothing compared to what she could have done, because she put herself out there to fail. But by breaking the rules, and you know this. I mean, come on now. Come on. And so I'm suggesting is that as black people today, that's how our parents raised us. Now this might sound kind of harsh, but anybody my age was probably raised this way as well. If you want to compete for the same job against a white guy, you have to be 10 times better than that white guy. This is a simple reality. And so that's what black folks have been faced with. You don't have the luxury of doing what they do, because they're going to get away with it. Just like that little Russian girl got away with it. I don't think she did all that well. I don't even know what the outcome was. But you're not going to win. See, behind closed doors, this is what they've always done. Behind closed doors, they're figuring, how can we give this little girl a break after we just did Sha'Carri Richardson over here? And they figured and came out with the only thing they could, which was a real flimsy reason, but it was the best they could do. But still, by the time that dust settled and the smoke cleared, where was she? In the Olympics, still competing, okay? I think the pressure, a lot of stuff got to the girl, but that's not the issue. The issue is, as black people, we have to recognize the playing field. We have to recognize what we're dealing with. And if we're going to win, we have to be way better. We cannot, man, I was speaking to a guy on social media maybe about 3 or 4 years ago about this same issue. I said, look, as black people in America, I mean, even when you look at our history in this country, come on, we have come a long way. In every opportunity that we've been given, in this situation we've given an opportunity to participate in, we've always blown it up. We've always done well. We've always exceeded. You know, basketball used to be a white sport. Some guy named Nesmith created it. Major League Baseball in America was a white sport. Football in America was a white sport. Business in America was a white sport. Military in America was a white sport. The presidency in America was a white sport. You see what I'm saying? But the moment we get an opportunity, we blow this thing up. We saw Obama in the presidency. Look, he was a shoo-in, but he was almost a shoo-out. Remember Hillary? You know, he's not electable. That's what she was talking about. But everyone that Obama debated with, their intellects were dwarfed compared to his. And it was obvious that he was the man, and folks rallied around and voted for him. Because it wasn't simply a Democrat thing. Because you had Democrats, when he won the primary election against Hillary Clinton so that he was the Democrat choice, there were many Democrats that left the Democratic Party and became Republicans. Go figure. But on the other hand, you had astounding, well-respected Republicans like Colin Powell, for example, voted for Obama because Obama was the obvious choice. I guarantee you Colin Powell didn't vote for Al Sharpton when he was running for president. I guarantee you Colin Powell didn't vote for Jesse Jackson when he was running for president. I guarantee you that Colin Powell didn't vote for Alan Keyes, and Alan Keyes was a black Republican. I bet you did. This is a reality. When you look at this man of Obama, he was a man of tremendous intellect and insight. He was more than 10 times better than any of those folks that he was running against. Yet for many it was neck and neck between him and them, because although he was more than 10 times better, he was still a black man. But he prevailed because he was squeaky clean. Okay? And in areas that he wasn't squeaky clean, he tried to correct or at least hide, like smoking cigarettes, little things like that. Or even he didn't believe in gay marriage, you know. He realized that was a hit against him. So he said, well, I talked to my daughter and I have had a change of mind. I don't know if he did or he didn't, but she was a smart man. And he did what he needed to do. And recognized that his stance probably wasn't that important or based on anything solid. Man, my children have I have a long-standing agreement with my children that we can discuss anything that you want to as long as you're respectful. And there have been many occasions where I've changed my mind or changed my position on something that I believed was true. Because a lot of times our beliefs are simply based on, you know, what we have chosen to believe, and if we're challenged in a respectful debate, we might adjust, and I do. But anyway, that's where she screwed up. That's where most of us screw up. We have to be well. The reason we are in this position today, in a negative position in this society, I mean, I understand the concept of critical race theory, okay? And I really do, because I've read a couple of books on it when it all started hitting. Most of the stuff that we think critical race theory isn't, okay? Critical race theory isn't just racism and prejudice. You know, critical race theory would be, how does racism work, okay? How does it function? Why does it work so well? And what I'm suggesting today is that you can pull yourself out of the reach of the effects of that racism. But there's going to be some sacrifices. You got to give up the drugs, give up the alcohol. Make sure you walk a straight line. Get your life together. Make it squeaky clean. These things are going to be benefiting you anyway. Come on now. Quit running around. Quit having children out of wedlock. Quit having extramarital affairs. You know, quit cheating. Quit lying. Quit doing any kind of criminal activity. Of course, this isn't everybody, but I'm speaking to the ones that are. Stop. We don't need to be getting that buzz. We're still at war. This war ain't over yet. What I am suggesting today is that the reason we have not progressed any more than we have, it's because it's on us. We've been so easily sidetracked, so easily cajoled Man, we were making positive headway, even from the 60s, even from the Martin Luther King era, even from the Black Panthers era, even from many other, the Stokely Carmichael, and many of the other civil rights leaders at the time. We were making a positive progress. But we got sidetracked. Drug sidetracked, alcohol sidetracked, being cool, music, all that stuff sidetracked us. And almost symbolically, I like to say, the Afro, of which I was, really a part of back in the 70s and all, the Afro, when it went from a statement, a social statement, to a fashion statement, that's when it lost its power. When our coolness was a social statement, and our coolness went to a fashion statement, that's when we lost our power. That's when we lost it. And so the drugs and the alcohol, all these things hit at the same time. The music industry, I love music. But the players, the singers and the groups and all, as we have identified with them, and we gave up the social for the fashion. Okay? And the war wasn't over yet. And so you might look at it maybe like taking an antibiotic. You know how they say take an antibiotic until you're done with the bottle, because by the time you're done with the bottle, whatever it is that you're fighting, whatever kind of disease or issue that you're fighting will be totally eradicated by the time that bottle's done. But we start feeling better, some of the symptoms go away, we stop taking the medicine, then the issue comes back and comes back even stronger. And then the medicine that we had is now expired, and it doesn't have the potency that it had when you should have kept taking it till the disease was gone. The civil rights movement in this nation, as it took many forms, many necessary faces on the way to complete wellness, it felt good enough. And so we stopped. And so we even look at some of our politicians and some of the civil rights leaders like Jesse Jackson. And many of those guys are out about that time. They begin getting payoffs from businesses. Don't boycott us, and they were getting paid off, and they sort of dropped the gun, dropped the ball, didn't continue, so we're lost. We lost it. That's why we're still in this place today. We're not in the place that we're in today in America because of white people. I mean, indirectly we are, because they started this stuff, but the reason we haven't been able to end it, it's us. It's us. We are corrupted. We are like that Native American, how when rather than the strength that they could have been, they got a hold of that fire water and it destroyed them. So I'm just suggesting today, it's a pretty hopeless situation. Now, it's not hopeless for individuals. It's not hopeless for me or for my wife or my daughter and my son or the people that we have influence on. And I know many people that are educated or that are positive mindsets, that have raised their kids, have the kids in college making a very positive roads, and they're going to be something in life. See, I'm not just satisfied with my kids being well. I'm suggesting that if black folks are well as a whole, there'll be a tremendous difference for all of us, even those that are successful, okay? But it's up to us. And it is almost hopeless. Because how many black people are going to stop smoking weed? How many black people are going to stop drinking alcohol? How many black people are going to stop doing anything? See, white people are all doing the same things, but see, it's not about them. This is what I was talking to that guy on social media. I said, we need to stop doing drugs. We need to stop doing alcohol. We need to get more serious and get educated. There were two other things. We need to get healthy, and we need to be armed, okay? And so we have to start doing right. Don't break laws of any kind. And this brother was saying, well, it's not even right. Why we got to stop doing that for them? Hey, we're not doing it for them. We're doing it for us. I'm saying we are in this war zone right now. And look, when the United States, I was in the military. All my family's military. Most of my friends are ex-military. When the United States goes to war, we go to war with overwhelming numbers and overwhelmingly technology advanced weaponry to just overwhelm your opponent. That's our strategy. We don't have the Sun Tzu strategy of this and that and, the send in this and have this. No, we just overwhelm our opponent. Shock and awe, okay? That's our strategy. And so what I'm suggesting as black people today, we need to recognize that's the kind of strategy we need to have. We can't have weaknesses in that area, weaknesses in this area. We need to clean up our act. And me before you, see, I'm not just telling you theory. I'm telling you what I've lived, what I've done. I was out there, the regular guy. Some of you guys that know me, that I haven't even seen you in years, you might see me on this program, you know what kind of person I was. Today, I don't do drugs. I don't do any alcohol. I exercise every day. I do cardio every day. I eat right. I have a job that I go to that I hardly call in sick. I come home after work. I don't go to clubs at all anymore. And I raise my family. That's what and I'm educated. I earned an MBA. Took me 10 years from a high school diploma when I was 50 to an MBA when I was 60. And I'm armed. I have weapons legally, okay? So what I'm sharing with you, everything that I'm sharing with you, and there was a time when if a police officer was behind me and ran my plates, I'd be wondering, do I have a warrant out there or not? Or do I even have a license, or how many tickets do I have? And man, a police officer runs my plate today, there was absolutely nothing on there for years, period, okay? So what I'm telling you now, and I was always on the verge of losing my license. I was always had so many points, and if I got one more, I lose my license. And I'd try to take some time and work some of the points off, and that's where I lived, right up there at that top, at that limit. So I'm not telling you any, and my life now is good. My life is well, okay? But it just doesn't happen. You have to make a decision. You have to stop doing things. Financially, I'm well. But, you don't smoke weed, you don't drink alcohol, you don't do the clubs every night of the week. How much money do you think you're going to save just from that? Think about it. Get a pencil and paper, take the time out. If you smoke weed or do some kind of drugs and you drink alcohol and you go to the clubs and you go to the restaurants and all that stuff, just take a pencil and paper and write down for a month how much you spend doing all those things. And then multiply that by 12. And you're going to see you spend thousands of dollars a year just blowing your money. And it's not even making you any healthier. Stop doing that. I'm telling you, when you finally are sober, when you are educated, when you are financially able, when you are well armed, okay, when you are healthy, you are less of a threat to you than you are to them. But you've maneuvered yourself to a position outside of their reach. And you can be and do whatever it is that you want to be and do. Okay? And I'm suggesting that's very well, because when you look around, even when Obama was elected, you saw the nation was going through some changes, especially on election night. I mean, there weren't too many black folks that weren't crying. And I was one of them. For real. Yeah, I was in the room by myself. My kids weren't there. Good thing. I'm one of those guys, right? But white folks were just as traumatized, many of them, probably all of them, the other way. Now all of them were traumatized by experiencing something that could not have possibly happened, this black man becoming president, but they all didn't respond in the same way, okay? So what you're going to find is, you're going to find people need to feel like they are somebody. People need to feel like they are not the bottom rung of the ladder. Now, black people that have been in this station for all these years, we had no choice of feeling like we were on that bottom rung. I mean, my dad was telling me after World War II, or during World War II, they would ship white German prisoners of war who were actually killing Americans in battle. They would bring them to the United States as prisoners of war, and when they go to the theater, the black people still couldn't sit on the white level, but the German POWs were sitting in there on the level in the theater. German POWs could eat in any restaurant in the South, but the black folks who fought on the side of the United States could not, okay? So black folks have been on that lower rung forever. So this is not something that we are not used to. We're not used to. It is something that many of us have brought ourselves up from. But even those that have brought ourselves up from that, the concept is not unfamiliar to us, okay? So white folks in this nation did not have that issue. White folks in this nation have always had black folks, at least in their minds, a step under them, okay? And so like even emanating from slavery in the United States, which many black people had their beginning, have their cognizant understanding and believing in this nation from the shores of America, black folks have always been on that bottom level. And even white folks, even during the slavery and during the slave trade and all that, you know, most white folks didn't have slaves. Many white folks were dirt poor. Most white folks were dirt poor. You had to have money to have slaves. And so you had many white people that are actually working next to the slaves in the cotton fields picking cotton. But they weren't slaves. And so that was still their one-up. As low as they were still one-up. And so now what we have in this nation so many years later, most black people in this nation are the descendants of slaves. Most of us. But still we've moved ourselves, we've taken ourselves to a place that now we are very equal to the descendants of the white folks who were not slaves. So that shows either their inability to progress, or it just shows our amazing ingenuity and creativity that we have brought ourselves as sons and daughters of slaves to the point where we're basically equal with the white folks economically in this nation today. And presidents and CEOs and officers, generals and admirals and, you know, ranks all the way down, even to the officers' realm and managers and owners, business owners and all that. And I guess it started around the sports time, started blowing the sports up, you know, as far as, you know, the highest paid sports figures and all this. And black folks have just taken over the sports. And then, of course, taken over the music industry, and then taken over businesses and the military, and even to the presidency. And that presidency was the thing that totally pushed a lot of white folks off the edge because they needed to feel that there was someone underneath them. Black folks don't need to feel that. But they needed to, and they've always experienced it, no matter how poor they were, no matter how destitute, no matter what kind of neighborhoods, no matter what kind of uneducation they were about, they still, well, I'm not black. And at that time, black folks had basically taken over every aspect and demonstrated themselves in every aspect of life, being in charge. So you have scores and scores of poor, uneducated, or just regular middle-class white folks that still, no matter how dire their life situation was, at least I'm not black. And then Barack Obama came on the scene and took the presidency legitimately, honestly, intellectually. And they about lost their minds. Because although black folks' trauma was a blessing and beautiful and can't believe it with warm tears, white folks were traumatized because the first time in their lives they realized they were better than no one. And in fact, so many black folks were much better than them. It destroyed them. That's when the Tea Party was created, when Obama became president. That's when Mitch McConnell said, well, we're going to make him a one-term president. I've never heard any group say that about the elected president as long as I've been aware of presidential elections in this nation. Unprecedented. You know, I remember a heating and air conditioning company in this town that informed their customers, put out an ad that all of their customers who were Tea Party members were going to get a discount. For real. That was right after Obama became elected in this city. Wasn't long after that, half of this company's customers customers were canceling their orders and they were getting ready to go belly up. They didn't recognize, they didn't realize how stupid that was. Next thing you know, they put out a big old ad apologizing and taking back, that offer that they had made to try to recoup their customers. And in that man's defense, in their defense, they just didn't know what to do. But the problem that they had then and even had now is that you can't put that genie back in the bottle. This is a reality black folks got to realize, at least through Obama, that's when I decided to go back to school. That's when I looked at this young black man that was younger than me, that had a Harvard education, Harvard attorney, Harvard law professor, and now President of the United States, and I had a high school diploma. That's when I decided just to go to Sinclair to get an associate degree so I could feel like I have a degree too, because I can do this. I didn't stop until I had an MBA. Inspired me. See, he inspired, he should, if people's hearts were right, white folks, black folks, yellow people, if our hearts are right, we could all be inspired by this man, because he is simply a human being that exemplifies a success story that we can all grasp a hold of. But if your heart is not right, if you're seeing black people as the only thing that keeps you from being on the bottom, and now he's president of the world, the strongest nation on this planet, you realize you're better than no one, and white folks went to that. That's why Trump was so successful. That's why that whole "Make America Great Again," because it's getting people. No, we're going to get it back to where it was. You're going to give you the feeling you had before, but you can't put that genie back in the bottle. He was destined to lose. I mean, it was enough to get him elected that first time because people were that's why he looked at Hillary and said Hillary was was a third term for Obama. Because Hillary in and of herself was simply a white woman, a politician that was very experienced, that had a potential to win on a level circumstance with somebody who was simply a game show host or, whatever he was, reality show host. But when he connected her to Obama, it brought that old feeling again of black folks being over us, no longer under us, and it rallied them. That's why they got together. That's why they supported that man so much, out of the hopes, and even probably a subconscious hope, that feeling they had prior to Obama could once again be reborn. And so he was in. That's why they could be as mean and negative, as harsh as they want to be, as vile as they want to be, and it didn't matter. Because their very emotional survival was all tied up into this man. Because America was going to be made great again. In other words, they were not going to feel as they were. Because I've been in a lot of these neighborhoods. A lot of the white neighborhoods that are out there, flying this, trying to be what they call white supremacists and pushing all that agenda and everything, making America great. I've been in their neighborhoods. Some of their flags, some of their banners look like they are cost more than it's not about making America great again. It's giving them back that feeling again, okay? And it can never be done. And as we're looking, see, this isn't a political message. See, look, if Obama had been a Republican and he wasn't crazy, I would have voted for him because I'm not political. But I recognize, especially from all my work that I had done in the communities and the 17 years at Juvenile and all the busing programs and feeding programs I've been involved in over the years, that it was necessary for young black kids to see this black man in a different role. That you could be in a very large role of respect and adoration and not have to be a rap artist or a basketball player. You see what I'm saying? And you can be educated, and you can use that education to work for you. And so I knew we just needed that black face up there. If Colin Powell had run under the Republican ticket, I would have voted for Colin Powell because I'm not political. Man, what I'm telling you is black people in America today, until you are totally well, until you are totally equal, until you're totally free, you're not really even part of any political party. You're just simply being used by each political party for the votes that they can garner from you, and then afterwards life is normal. Otherwise, after these hundreds of years, we wouldn't still be in the position that we're in today. That was really nice as far as getting justice for George Floyd. That was really nice getting justice for Ahmaud Arbery. But those were just two folks out of a plethora of black folks who have been abused and mistreated and murdered and incarcerated for nothing other than simply the color of their skin. To me, I mean, it's good for their families. but it speaks to the vileness of this nation and the incompetence of us as black people to get together and put away our issues, our habits, our addictions, our character and personality traits that are negatively affecting our progress upward. We have to do this. We have to make ourselves well. We have to begin letting friends go that are not about what we want to be. Man, all the time when I was doing that time mentoring in the juvenile detention, those 17 years, man, most of the kids that were locked up were not bad. That was my assessment. My assessment was most of them simply had a bad influential friend that they were hanging with and ended up doing the things that the friend wanted to do, and they got jammed up too. Like a friend who wants to steal a car. So you got 3 in the car with him, but he's the one pushing it. You get busted. All 4 of them go to jail. But if it wasn't for that one, they probably would have been influenced to do something more constructive. And so I'm suggesting that is simply the reality of the way that it is. I mean, you have situations in these neighborhoods, and it's unfortunate, but you have folks that are ostracized by the group. I mean, we all know this. You know, we've all come up like that. There have always been the ones that were ostracized. Well, in today's society, nobody wants to be the one ostracized, so you'd rather be hanging with the group than having to deal, you know, with being the one being ostracized. Even if it's something that is vile to you and you don't want to participate in, you'll still participate in it rather than being the one it's all being participated against. And so I'm just suggesting that there just comes a point in time where we have to begin to let friends go. Iron sharpens iron is an old saying that if you want to be a sharpened sword, a sharpened sword can only be sharpened by a sharpened sword. Iron sharpens iron. And so you have to then begin to associate yourself with folks who are like-minded, who have a desire to have a trajectory such as you to success. And until that individual is in your life, until you have found those individuals, walk alone. Walk alone. And it is in those alone times, just find ways to improve yourselves, to make yourself stronger. Man, you have the internet at your fingertips. Begin to go and study stuff instead of just being on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and all that other stuff. Or get on YouTube and find some college classes or some things to learn. And begin improving yourself. Do push-ups at home, 50 a day. Do cardio. Eat healthy. Lose weight. Get yourself in shape. Increase your longevity. I'm telling you, so while you're in those alone times, make yourself stronger. There's an old Jewish proverb that speaks to that you cannot be handed anything of value until you release what you're already holding in your hands. And too many of us are holding on to things, people, habits and things that are destructive to our lives. And if we would just let those things go, we'd be in a position to grasp, to embrace those things which are positive for us and will take us to that place where we're supposed to be. I'm telling you, it can be like that. And so it really isn't a deep talk. It's one last piece of advice before we go, and sort of ties into us not really needing to be political, because there are no political parties that represent us if we are not free in this nation. Because we've had presidents from both parties off and on, yet still George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery were killed, and many others. So don't get caught up in political or social arguments. Those are just distractions. Man, I was having this conversation on social media, and it was a very deep conversation, and it was a conversation revolving around Sha'Carri Richardson and this young Russian white girl who both tested positive for bad substances, but they still allowed the Russian girl to compete in the Olympics. And his response was, the legalization of weed. There's a brother. And he kept at it a couple times, and I had to express to him, this is a distraction. This is what they want you to be distracted. They don't want to focus on the real issue of you. They want you to be focused, on weed. On anything else. See, what we have in our lives today, and I think we talked about this in the last program, is that you have an illness and you have symptoms. Too often we tend to the symptoms. And that's even in our lives. Rather than take care of our health, or take care of our weight, or take care of our physical wellness by exercising, for eating right, we'll just get clothes and things and makeup and stuff that is just going to cover up the symptoms of the illness. No, you don't have to cover up the symptoms. Just deal with the illness. And so all the things that we are still trying to put our hand to do, trying to embrace, because those are the symptoms. You fix the illness, and all of the symptoms will dissipate. And we will be creating a legacy, a real legacy, an inheritance for our children that we never had. That's all I'm saying. How's that? Well, anyway, I guess I've bent your ear long enough. Gave you some things to think about. You think about those things. New and improved. There's no limit. I'm telling you, I'm the example. Go to my Facebook page. Find me. Because I'm always putting on encouraging stuff. I'm always putting on encouraging stuff. And nothing is theory. Man, and this as we close, it's kind of funny. Those of the folks that know me on Facebook and YouTube, and Instagram, I'm always putting health things. I'm working out, I'm exercising, trying to eat right. I'm always putting positive things on there to be well. And at work, I don't talk so much about these things, but I do exemplify that. I'm going to be 64 this year. I don't look 64. My physical abilities are younger than 64. I'm healthy, okay? And I don't believe I'm all that special. I believe what I am is what we are supposed to be. I believe whatever my age is, that's where I'm at right now, okay? And that we can be a lot better than we are. So anyway, I'm talking to this guy. This guy says, hey Jarvis, help me lose some weight, And I'm like, okay. But I was thinking he was being sarcastic. He was making fun of me, because of how I am and, the image that I portray and all. And then the next day, he was looking kind of funny at me. And as it turned out, he was serious. When he asked me to help him, and he was wondering why I showed up the next day without anything, without any advice, without anything, that I didn't help him. And that caught me off guard because I just thought, he was just making fun. And so the next day, the next morning, rather than working out, this is like 5 in the morning, I created a 1-year plan for him. Exercise and food intake. That after a year, he'd be in great shape. That was it. And that was cool. He really appreciated it. And it was very interesting. And so then I put this story on Facebook, what I just shared with you right now about this guy, me coming to work, and I get this message in Messenger from somebody else that wants to help me or wants me to help them. And so a lot of folks out there, and I'll put my hand to it, and I'll send him the same thing I created for that other gentleman that morning. But ultimately, it's up to you. It's not always going to be easy. Even now, like I decided, like last night, I try to work out every day. Like I was going to work out yesterday, but I was off. It was Sunday, and something else was going on I had to do for my family, and then it was late, and I'm kicking around. Man, it's like by 10 o'clock, I had already dozed off, woke up a couple times in front of the TV. And finally, it was about 11, man. It was like, no, man, I got to work out before tomorrow. And it's like 1 hour. So I went and took a shower, got myself together, knocked out 50 push-ups, went and did my 40-minute cardio, got done in 11:59. Okay. And I'm telling you, all the time as I was getting ready, showering, getting my workout clothes on, getting ready, I kept trying to talk myself out of doing it. It's like, come on, you're tired. You don't feel like doing it. Just don't. And I had to fight it. I had to actually fight it because I was talking myself out of working out. And finally, I decided that, I'm going to work out the next day, which is today. But if I don't, then I'll be a date I wouldn't have done it. Now, I don't mind. I'm not that anal about it. I mean, if I miss, I miss because something went down, but not just because I just missed because I was lazy. And even if I missed because I was lazy, I would still, okay, the next day I'd put that behind me and work on, but I didn't have to. But I dealt with me. I'm in control of me. My good desires are in control of me, no matter how tempted my body and my negative side wants not to. I am in control of me. And you bear this in mind for your life. When you know right from wrong, you know good from evil, you know healthy from unhealthy. So we don't have to argue the weed issue, the alcohol issue, any kind of issues. You already know what's good. Taking smoke into your body can't be. Deadening your brain can't be good. None of these things we know. And so the side of you that would like to do well, that knows to do well, that's the good side. The destructive side of you is the side that wants to do what you know is destructive or wants you to keep from doing that which is constructive. That's the negative side of you. There's a battle, but I refuse to let the negative side win. So guess what? Again, I finished at 11:59 working out. And I'm telling you, when you finish, when you take control of your body, when you deal with a conflict and you put the negativity down and you go forth and do what you know is right, there is such a wonderful feeling upon completion because you know you persevered and you know you did the right thing. Do the right thing and be consistent about it. And eventually, probably even before you realize it, you'll look around and say, wait a minute. My whole environment has changed. You can do it. I have total confidence in you. You can do it. How's that? Well, anyway, I want to thank you once again for joining me and listening. And I want to invite you to listen again. You take care.